Well, it was all intuitive modeling, what we would call intuitive modeling. So in the world of modeling, as I would talk about it, is I can model from sort of an observer space, and I can ask questions. I can observe certain cues from an observational point of view. Or I can sort of release myself very much like a child does and sort of settle myself into the shoes or, kind of breathe in that other person and try to look at the world through their eyes. So I went there from the position of, on the one hand, learning from the position of him being my teacher and going, what is it like to learn from that perspective? I also would sit and watch him teach others. And so I could learn also from that sort of observer perspective in terms of what kind of relationship he created. And then I could also sit in his shoes and try my very best to kind of experience the world through his eyes. Um, then I would practice. Then I would, we would get together in little groups and we would practice what we learned. Now, what came out of that was a sensitivity to how he used language, which was sort of the framework that ultimately I put around what I learned from him by observation, by being, hypnotized by him, I'll say it directly, and by him being my teacher. Well,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
was at very early days of NLP. And
Yeah.
so, really we were modeling. That's what we were doing.
Yeah.
That was our mission imperative, right? We're modelers. We want to try to understand the connectedness and these sort of patterns, to notice things like, gee, you ask a person, do you want to go to a movie tonight? And they go, well, let's see. And and their eye makes a movement and you go, gosh, I wonder if they're actually seeing something up there, and then you ask and they go, oh yeah, I was looking at the newspaper, looking at what the shows are running right now, and then starting to correlate that pattern, getting that connection between that movement, that word, let me take a look, let me see.
Yeah.
And this event that's happening sort of cognitively. So we were living and swimming in this world of modeling,
Yeah.
And with, I think maybe not describing it yet, maybe Richard and John would have said it that way, but for me, it was much more intuitive. It was much more about walking in that person's shoes. It was
Mm.
more noticing what they noticed without sort of making a judgment about it. Well, I think I didn't necessarily make the choice primarily. John and Richard really, really wanted to model him. And I think what came out of that modeling were the books around his ability to use the absolute opposite of the meta model, right? It's called the Milton model,
Okay. Yeah.
sort of the inverse, right? The inverse. Um, I went along because I was really curious coming out of religious studies, because I was doing my university studies of religious studies. I saw this human phenomenon of trance as exactly that, a human phenomenon. And yeah, there are certain special trances that are held by context and by senseis in the dojo, as he was, a hypnotherapist, a psychiatrist, a very amazing human being. But also you could see a shaman, in
Mm.
Central America creating a special state, human state, for healing.
Yeah.
And so I was really curious about that and just the human aspects of, we're in and out of trance all day long as human beings. And when people are stuck in a problem and they say to me, Judy, would you put me in a trance to help me, solve the problem? I go, that's the problem. You're in a trance. You got to come out of that trance, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of from that space that really piqued my curiosity. No, the question of noticing how he uses his attention and yes, I can put my body in similar kinds of, positions, and I can change my voice as he changed his voice. I can't sound like him, But I know that when he would engage at one level with a person, his voice would change. And if he engaged at a different level, he had, his voice would be more now, different rhythm, as opposed to, okay.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah.